Hello students, I am Dr. Poonam again with you with a new poem, The Second Coming, written by William Butler Yeats. William Butler Yeats was born in Dublin in 1805. His childhood was spent mainly in London. His father was a painter and Yeats himself studied art for some time. He became a member of the poetic movement in London in the 1890s and was a keen worker in the renaissance of the Irish theatre in the 1900s. When we talk the modern poetry in English emerged in the late 19th century and was rooted in the idea that traditional forms of art, literature, social organization and daily life had become outdated, and that it was therefore essential to sweep them aside and reinvent culture. It encouraged the idea of re-examination of every aspect of the art of poetry with the goal of finding that which was holding back progress and replacing it with new and therefore better ways of reaching the same end. Now we come to the historical background of the poem. This poem was composed by Yeats in 1909 after the First World War and earlier titled The Second Birth. In the beginning of the poem, the poet depicts a very apt and appropriate picture of post-war. The World War has left the world in a situation of flux and disorder. There is restlessness, hopelessness, chaos and anarchy. First World War के बाद हर जगह anarchy means disorder. There was a disorder in the world. Everywhere there was anarchy. People have lost faith and conviction, and scenes of violent bloodshed have been the hallmark of the day. And Europe had enjoyed almost a century without major conflict after the First World War. This was an exceptionally long period of peace. Then in 1914, the World War, the Irish Easter Rising, the Russian Revolution, the rise of the communist movement in Germany, and soon after the rise of fascism in both Germany and Italy all followed each other rapidly. Suddenly everybody was fighting in Europe. Now come, I have given the paraphrase for your convenience, the paraphrasing of the poem, so that you can understand the poem and the difficult words of the poem. As I read the text, turning and turning in the widening gear, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. The poem can be divided into two parts. Part 1 is from lines 1 to 8 and part 2 is from lines 9 to 22. The first part tells us that our civilization is about to break or disintegrate. It is because our civilization, the falcon, is no longer in a position to listen to intellect and the soul, and it goes on turning and turning in an ever widening world. Falcon is called, what do you understand by falcon? Falcon is it is a bird, Baj Pakshi. The center is not able to hold its own. As a result, things are falling apart. disintegrating. The result of this disintegration is a kind of complete anarchy, bringing in its train a lot of bloodshed. In other words, anarchy and violence are let loose everywhere. The ceremony of innocence, which the poet valued so much and which is a life led by moral values, is the victim of all this anarchy and violence. The situation becomes all the more worse because of the fact that the best people have lost faith in the aristocratic society or a life of principles and moral values. They are not sure of themselves and their convictions. On the other hand, the masses or the common people, those who believe in fanaticism and violence, are gaining upper hand and are confident of their passionate intensity. The blood dimmed tide is loosed and everywhere. Means a wave of blood crashes down everywhere. The ceremony of innocence is drowned. The innocent people are drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst, means the good are weak, while the bad are passionate and intense, are full of passionate intensity. The bad people are passionate and intense. So in these lines, you see that there are images also. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming, hardly are those words out, when a vast image of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Spiritus Mundi means, what is the meaning of Spiritus Mundi? In Yeats's philosophy, a general storehouse of images which have ceased to be the property of any personality or spirit. It is equivalent to Jung's collective unconsciousness. More directly, in fact, than out of the Spiritus Mundi, it is out of the British Museum, which Yeats frequented a great deal when he was in London. It is one of these frightening lions with birds' wings and bearded human faces, which make us think how utterly alien to us some early civilization are. There are so many images. There are three main images in the poem. Somewhere in sands of the desert, a shape with loin body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow things, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. You see that you can read the paraphrase also. Somewhere in sands of the desert means in the desert, the shape of a sphinx, eyes blank and cruel like the sun. It is standing up while all around it spin angry desert birds. As I told you that the poem opens as if it were in the midst of a vision. The poet sees a widening gear, a circular motion which has the effect of broadening the thing, going round and round, which is going at top speed. The controller, if so far as there is any, cannot control its movement. This is compared with the activity of the falcon, who cannot hear the falconer because of the distance between the two. Falconer कौन है? Who is falconer in this poem? बाज पक्षी को ट्रेन करने वाला व्यक्ति. बाज पक्षी को ट्रेन करता है जो, द फाल्कनर इज कॉल्ड ए फाल्कनर बाज पक्षी को ट्रेनिंग देता है। क्योंकि डिस्टेंस है दोनों के बीच में तो वो उसको सुन नहीं सकता, बिकॉज ऑफ द डिस्टेंस बिटवीन द टू, और बिकॉज द फैल्कन इज सच इमोशनल हीट that it refuses to be guided by its master. The result is all-round convulsion in which all finer values of life are lost. Anarchy is let loose upon the world. सारे संसार में डिसऑर्डर है। The better people are without a sense or commitment. They have no opinions. They are as if it were neutral. While the worst, the undesirable people, are full of fanatical passions and exhibit their violent tendencies. Consequently, traditional and aristocratic life and thereby innocence and purity are in danger of extinction. The best, the widest, the aristocratic have lost all faith and conviction. The worst, the masses, are fantastic, irrational, and violent. You can understand these lines like this. प्रथम विश्व युद्ध के कारण उत्पन्न अराजकता के जो स्थितियां उत्पन्न हुई हैं, विज्ञान और प्रजातंत्र ने मूल्यों का नाश किया, जिसके कारण निराशा का वातावरण पैदा हुआ और इसी मूड में इस कविता की रचना की गई। कवि ये फोरकास्ट करता है कि यूरोप का भविष्य अंधकारमय है और आने वाली सभ्यता में जंगली शक्तियों का बोलबाला रहेगा। कविता एक दीवा स्वप्न के बीच में से शुरू होती है। कवि एक चौड़ा होता हुआ चक्कर काटता हुआ वृत्त देखता है, जस्ट लाइक ए फैल्कन, द इमेजेस ऑफ फैल्कन एंड फाल्कनर। जैसे मैंने बताया है कि फाल्कनर कौन है, जो फैल्कन को ट्रेन करता है, और चक्कर काटने के कारण ये गोला निरंतर अधिकाधिक चौड़ा होता जा रहा है। ये चक्कर तीव्रतम गति से चलायमान है और इसका नियंत्रक कोई नहीं है। यदि है तो वो इसके चक्कर तथा गति को नियंत्रित नहीं कर सकता। इसकी तुलना कवि एक बाज की क्रिया से करता है, जो अपने मालिक की आवाज़ को, क्योंकि दोनों के बीच दूरी की अधिकता के कारण या आवेश की तीव्रता के कारण वो सुन नहीं पा रहा है या उसके आदेशानुसार कार्य करने से इनकार कर देता है, और इसके परिणाम स्वरूप सारे संसार में अस्त व्यस्तता व खलबली मची हुई है और समस्त उत्तम मूल्य समाप्त हो गए हैं। संसार में अराजकता फैली हुई है। सब लोग, उच्च स्तरीय लोग, जो अच्छे लोग हैं, वो आदर्शहीन हो गए हैं और उनकी अपनी कोई राय नहीं रह गई है, वो तटस्थ हो गए हैं। जबकि खराब लोग भोंडा प्रदर्शन कर रहे हैं, भीड़ के रूप में तर्कहीन हो गए हैं, धर्मांध हो गए हैं। इसके फलस्वरूप प्राचीन रीतियों पर आधारित कुलीन जीवन और निर्दोष पवित्रता नाश के करीब आ पहुंची है। बुद्धिमान व्यक्ति, कुलीन व्यक्ति, सर्वश्रेष्ठ व्यक्ति धर्म व ईश्वर में अपने विश्वास को खो चुके हैं। अधिकांश लोग निकृष्ट, धर्मांध, तर्कहीन तथा हिंसक हो गए हैं। इन सारी पंक्तियों में, इस कविता में यीट्स संसार में बिखराव की स्थिति के बारे में बता रहा है। संसार में एनार्की है, डिसऑर्डर है, बिखराव है आफ्टर द फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर। चारों ओर अराजकता है, अव्यवस्था है, और इसीलिए यीट्स सोचता है कि इस सभ्यता का विनाश होने वाला है। ब्लड डिम्ड टाइट, बाइबल में जो कहा गया है, महान विनाशकारी बाढ़ की याद दिलाता है। बाइबल में द ब्लड डिम्ड टाइट एक रेफरेंस है, तो ये उसकी याद दिलाता है। और नेक्स्ट यू कैन सी द डार्कनेस ड्रॉप्स अगेन बट हाउ आई नो, means the vision stops but now I know. that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle, and what rough beast its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. We are doing the paraphrasing of these lines. The vision stops, but now I know that 2000 years of sleep were full of nightmares created by a rocking cradle, and what terrible beast, its time finally arrived, and it is walking towards Bethlehem to be born. इन पंक्तियों में, इस कविता में एक विनाशकारी नई शक्ति का उदय होने की भविष्यवाणी की गई है जो ईसाई मूल्यों को उलट देगी। The darkness drops again, but now I know. These lines, as it is a very powerful poem. This poem was born out of the poet's conviction that the Christian civilization was nearing the end of its allotted span of 2000 years. Christian civilization का यीट्स को ये विश्वास है कि क्रिश्चियन सभ्यता अपने जीवन के नियत, जितने नियत थे, जितना फिक्स था, 2000 वर्ष पूर्ण कर चुकी है तथा अब इसका विनाश होने वाला है। So, Yeats believed that a new phase was about to begin, new phase of Christian civilization. The conviction arose out of the deepening disintegration of Europe, of which the First World War and the political commotion in Ireland were the explosive symptoms. According to Yeats, the end of an age which always receives the revelation of the character of the next age is represented by the coming of one gear to its place of greatest expansion and of the other to that of its greatest contraction. At the present moment, the life gear is sweeping outward, unlike before the birth of Christ. किट्स के अनुसार किसी युग का अंत सदा एक नए अवतार को जन्म देता है जो नए युग के स्वरूप का निर्धारक होता है। इसका प्रतिनिधित्व एक चक्र करता है जो पुराने चक्र के अधिकतम फैलाव के स्थान पर आता है तथा दूसरा इसके सिकुड़ने पर आता है। आधुनिक काल में जीवन चक्र बाहर की ओर बढ़ रहा है जो क्राइस्ट के जन्म के समय के चक्र से विपरीत है। It is presented like that the moment of life gear is sweeping outward, unlike that before the birth of Christ. And in these lines, he says that while thinking of the present condition of the Christian civilization, he has a vision of a strange figure, and it is with a lion's body. What a rough beast, its hour come round last. The rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. So the poet says that by virtue of the vision, he has come to know one secret thing. It is that the sleep of the second incarnation, who was made to sleep like a stone by Christian charity, love and non-violence, these 20 centuries of the Christian civilization has been broken. It has been disturbed to its indignation by a rocking of its cradle. The second prophet is a very violent beastly figure. जो कवि कल्पना करता है कि ये सेकंड जो प्रॉफिट आ रहा है, जो अवतार है, जो कवि कहता है कि ईसाई सभ्यता की वर्तमान दशा के बारे में सोचते हुए उसे एक असाधारण स्वप्न दिखाई देता है। इसमें एक भयंकर आकृति है जिसका मुंह आदमी का है और शरीर शेर का है। जिसका मुंह आदमी का है और उसकी बॉडी लॉयन की है। यह रेगिस्तान की ओर धीरे धीरे बढ़ रहा है। कवि कहता है कि अपने स्वप्न के कारण उसे एक रहस्य का पता चल गया है और यह रहस्य दूसरे अवतार की निद्रा के बारे में है। Then the second prophet is very violent, beastly figure. Now that the hour of its incarnation has come round at last, it is walking stoopingly towards Bethlehem to be born as the second incarnation. बैथलम की तरफ बढ़ रहा है। ये इसको पैदा होना है अब। The poet implies that its birth is quite near at hand. कवि कहता है कि ये जल्दी ही जन्म लेने वाला है, बहुत शीघ्रता से। Its coming into the world will signify the beginning of the bestial civilization full of violence, bloodshed, rudeness and animal instincts and patience. और कवि कहता है कि ये जो हिंसक जानवर की तरह है, ये दूसरा अवतार है जो ये एक हिंसक जानवर की तरह है और ये सिर झुकाए हुए बेथलम की तरफ बढ़ रहा है और यह दूसरे अवतार के रूप में जन्म लेगा और निकट भविष्य में इसका जन्म होने वाला है और संसार में इसके आने का अर्थ होगा एक हिंसक और जंगली सभ्यता का आरंभ। हिंसा, रक्तपात, कठोरता, उग्रता आदि जानवरों के लक्षण इसके प्रतीक होंगे। Now we come to the themes of the poem. When the world has disintegrated into the chaos, it's at the beginning of a new age. This part of a theory developed in Yeats's book, A Vision, where the human history is based on 2000 years cycle. And chaos, irrationality, beginning, control, stability. These words signify the themes of the poem The Second Coming. The meter of the poem we can discuss also. The poem is written in blank verse and its texture is enriched by typical Yeatsian half rhymes of Anglo-Irish rhymes like Gear and Falconer, Hold and Word, Man and Son. Then the poet says that good and evil are difficult to fall apart, can be seen in the line, the best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. जैसा कि मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया है कि जो अच्छे व्यक्ति हैं वो अपना सारा विश्वास खो चुके हैं और जो बुरे व्यक्ति हैं the worst they are full of passionate intensity, वही आगे बढ़ रहे हैं. This lines makes it seem like Yeats's reverse the worst people simply because they are passionate in what they believe in. Thank you very much.